Hello and welcome to Real Talk with Stacey Renee. We are excited, super excited to have Kimberly here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you. I am super excited to be here.
Yes, so Kimberly Kassner with Empower Minds. I mean, you are all over the place. You're a YouTube sensation, and I hear your name all around.
Well, thank you. I hope that's good.
That is a good thing. That's a very good thing. You have a lot of information to give everybody, and I think they're really tacking onto it, and I think it's been very useful to them. So I'm pleased and excited to have you on our Real Talk today.
Thank you.
So from what I know about you already, you have a book, and you've also, I know quite a few people that you've worked with, including my kids, and you have, you're a genius and I can prove it. So tell us all about it.
Well, I started You're a Genius and I Can Prove It from my Empower Mind workshop. And what I do is I teach people how to learn by playing to their strengths. I believe that everyone is a genius in their own way, but we're not taught how we learn. Our school systems don't teach us how to look inside and figure out all the different components that make us the best possible learner from a mind, body, spirit perspective. So what I do is I help people take information from the outside and convert it into their own learning style only by playing to their strengths. And I do that by building their confidence. I do that by figuring out which senses do they learn from. Are they more right brain? Are they more left brain? And I integrate all those things together to find out what is their best system.
That is so impressive, because I know that they have all those tests out there. I know they have the Myers-Briggs type indicator. They have all these ways to test your personality type, how you learn. Some people are visual, some people learn by sound. And it looks like you've pretty much nailed down the learning mechanisms to empower people to really learn how to memorize too, right?
Yes, memory retention is a big part of it too. But when somebody learns how they learn, and not only that, but the emotional component is really key. And there are very few people that talk about the emotional component of learning. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts? Are you shutting yourself down? Are you judging yourself? Have you had negative experiences learning math or learning engineering or studying for the bar exam, whatever? There's a lot of mental stuff that goes on. So when I'm teaching somebody how to memorize 30 words, let's say, and random words, forwards and backwards, in 3 minutes, nobody believes they can do it. So when I ask them, can you do this? How long would it take? And they say hours, days, I'll never be able to. Are you kidding me? Right?
Right. That would be something I would totally say.
Right. And everybody does. And there's people in the classroom that think, oh my gosh, I'm the first person in 29 years that's not going to be able to do this. And they go into that state of anxiety and panic.
Which is shut yourself down, right? Is that what it is? You just kind of
totally shut yourself down. And it's like when you're ready to give a speech and you've got the perfect speech planned, and then you get up and you don't give the speech that you planned. Right. It's not because you don't know it. It's not because you're not great at it. It's because you get nervous or anxious. Same thing with testing. People will leave a test and they'll think, oh my gosh, I can't get this. And as soon as they leave the room, minutes later, all of a sudden, presto, it's right there. Why? It was always there, but we're not accessing it. So doesn't it make sense that we would also teach the students how to access?
Absolutely. I know that when you worked with my kids, they were so excited that the first thing, I memorized 30 words in like 2 minutes, and and they were so excited. And just to have that strength, and once they start believing in themselves, I think other things are coming easier for them, just because they believe in themselves and they know that they can.
Yes, that's the emotional part. And then once they have that revelation and we've shattered that limited belief system, not by telling them that they're a genius and they're great and they're wonderful. I do that. But I also take responsibility if they can't do it. I tell them right up front, if you're not able to do this, and if I don't blow your mind,
Right.
then I am the one that's failed, not you. You cannot fail. And so the students, adult or child, said, oh, now they start to relax because there's not that kind of pressure on them. The pressure's on me.
Right.
So first, that's the emotional component. And then we show them, based on how they learned, how do you now take the ability to memorize 30 words forwards and backwards so quickly and apply that same learning style that we learned about you, specifically about you, and apply it to vocabulary, terms, foreign languages, speeches, math, whatever it is somebody has to learn. How do we do that now, knowing what we know about you and your learning style? We've shattered the belief system. Now let's hone in on the material and combine the two together.
That is a beautiful combination. I have to agree. Now, what if somebody is, because sometimes as we get older, we have so many things in our minds and our heads. And, once we read something, especially if we're trying to always educate ourselves to keep up on, our jobs, life in general, what would you suggest for someone who says, the older I get, the harder it is for me to remember reading?
Okay, so there's many things. As we age, everybody also talks about how they're aging and can't remember anything, and they keep reinforcing that. So that's part of it. You don't see little kids go, oh, shoot, I walked in the room and forgot what I was going in for. They just, go into the room and play. So two things. I'm going to give you a specific example of thinking of a thousand things at one time. When I was really stressed and was at a hospital once, I was so stressed. I was talking to my sister on the phone, and I said, oh my gosh, where's my phone? Where's my phone? And I'm talking to her. So know what happens with stress and anxiety. It shuts off that ability. So how do you combat that? Well, first, try one thing, like your keys, your remote control, your glasses, your purse, whatever, one item. And when you use that item, let's say it's glasses, when you set those glasses down, you say out loud, I'm setting these blue glasses on my computer. So what's happening is you're uniting every single sense at the same time. So you're seeing it, you're saying it, you're touching it, and you're feeling it, and you're hearing it all at the same time. So you're using multiple sensory opportunities to, at some level, reinforce that in your brain so that you don't forget it. It helps you be more present. We're not more present. That's the emotional component of learning to meditate.
Right.
And I've got a gazillion stories about that, but I know we don't have time to go into all those.
Well, we may have to bring you back again for an extension of our interview today. But, it's funny that you mentioned that, because these glasses are kind of a new thing for me. And yesterday I needed them. I'm like, where are they? And I'm not used to wearing them. And I looked all over. I'm like, kids, have you seen my glasses? No, they were down here. I totally did not remember where I put them. So now I'm going to try and use that tool to remember when I put things down, including your phone.
Or you can buy 10 dollar store glasses and put them all over the house.
That is true.
Which people over 50 do, Stacey. You're not there yet.
No, but someday will be. But that's a good reminder and a good helpful hint. What are some other things that you feel have helped some of your clients get that aha moment where they're feeling more confident about learning? Because learning is a very difficult thing, and it's something that will never go away. And I think when you stop learning is when you become complacent, and I don't think that's healthy for anybody.
Right. Okay, I'll give a quick example. I'm working at Continental Automotive, and I'm teaching them how to memorize all these specs. They've got hundreds of them with abbreviations, charts, graphs, very complicated stuff. And so I'm working with this group, and this one man, I knew it. He got like a third of the sheet done, but we only had 10 minutes left. And I said, I can show you how to learn the rest of this in the 10 minutes. Not only will you learn it, but you'll also have this technique for the rest of your life to learn all the other specs. And he's like, yeah, okay.
Desperate
Because
at this point,
everybody
like,
else,
please.
right. You'd think, right? So
Yeah.
everybody else in the room had already gotten it,
Right.
And so I really wanted to empower him and have him have a great, experience. And so I said, all you have to do is ask me for help. And he put his head down. He could not ask me for help. So
Wow.
I know, because that's a huge issue in our society, is utilizing other people for help and support. So the next time I went and worked with engineers, because it was the first time I'd done a customized one just for engineers, I asked them, how many of you think it'd be better to get a problem solved in 20 minutes than 2 hours? Well, 20 minutes, of course. And so
Mhm.
I said, would you be willing to go to somebody next to you in the cubicle or pick up the phone, get an
Mhm.
answer to a part that you were missing? And now they're like deers in the headlight. And I said, your belief system is that you are map makers of the world. You are problem solvers. You get your self-esteem, your confidence, and your ability to manifest unbelievable things in your life from your brain, from being able to figure things out.
Mhm.
But did you invent the internet? No. Did you invent computers? Did you invent calculators? Do you use them? Yes, we do. And I said, so wouldn't the real genius be able to utilize every single opportunity that we have to be able to get to where we want to go and learn what we want to learn? Now,
Mhm.
to a lot of people, that might sound basic. To engineers that are very particular about doing things on their own, for some of them, it was like belief shattering. Like, you changed my whole belief system. You blew my
Mhm.
mind. I can't believe that, because their belief was so narrow in the aspect of they need to do everything themselves. Just opening up that helps people learn from each other. It's just
Mhm.
one of 100,000 examples I can give you.
It's funny. I wish I would have known you or this ability to be a genius in such a short time when I was a pharmaceutical rep, because I had to learn the pharmacokinetics, the mechanism of action in
Mhm.
a very short, minuscule time. And I would make note cards and put the word and just do the traditional thing that I learned in school. I didn't learn this technique, and I really wish that I had had it, which is why I'm bringing you into my children's life, because I think the younger that they learn it, the better off and more advanced that they're going to be for learning, because learning is never going to go away, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And
And when it's so important
uh
to not just be tutored, because that's
mhm,
like one specific subject that you're dealing with in front of you, helping somebody do homework, or help them study for a test. But when you learn a learning technique, you
mhm.
can utilize that learning technique in every single class, job, experience for the rest of your life. It's a completely different thing. Learning one or two or three techniques can be life changing.
I totally agree, and I know personally, I wouldn't mind it for myself, because I'm giving speeches and doing keynote presentations as well. And to have that, and every once in a while, I do need to look up at my PowerPoint presentation, because sometimes I like the way that it's said, and I don't want to
Mhm.
screw it up. But then I don't want to sit there and be looking at my my PowerPoint slide. So I might have to not only have you do my children, but me as well.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because even when I was training trainers, they were so overwhelmed with so much information and
Mhm.
worried they couldn't remember the 20 words right away because of the stress of being in front of an audience.
Right.
And so I said, well, here's the thing: we can put posters behind the audience on the
Mhm.
wall that just have a few specific words. The audience won't know what those posters are about. But
Right.
when you're standing up there, you get to see all your trigger words, you know, around the room, and you will feel comfortable and confident. So part of learning is learning techniques to help yourself out. Maybe even crutches. Like I had my nephew wasn't turning in, he had massive ADHD, and he wasn't turning in his papers into his classes, even though he did them. But he was getting an A in science and turning in his paper. And I said, well, how come you can do it in science and you can't do it in the other classes? What's going on?
The difference?
What's the difference? And he said, well, science, I just shove it in my book. I said, that's your method. You see, this is what happens. School and corporate, everybody tries to get you into their methodical, organized method, control you to do it their way. And if you're a shove it in the book person, and that's the best you can do, or you're not going to do anything because that's how you learn, right? And you shove it in the book. And so you shove it in the book in all the classes, and you learn to create the system that gets you to where you want to go. Thing that needed to be gotten to is get homework in, right?
Right. It's like, do, just get it done and over with.
Just get it done. And like, I've got little slips of paper. I kind of meditate a lot of times when I'm driving. It's kind of I go in a meditative state. Well, that doesn't sound good, does it?
I was like, but I'm sure that she's very cognizant. She's got it together. It's okay. I was giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Everybody relax, breathe. Okay. So I put, I have a little pad next to the steering wheel, and I'll pull off a piece of paper and I'll just write one word. It reminds me to do something, or I get an idea for a YouTube video, and I'll just stick 2 words in it, and I stick it right into the steering wheel. Everybody cracks up about all these little note things that I have all over the place. Well, that frees up your mind also to think, go other places. You don't want to keep everything in your mind. It's just like when you're learning people's names, you don't want to remember everybody that you've met. Right? For some people we want to forget, right?
You do have a point there, yes. But no,
so
that's
it's just great to have the tools and techniques in your back pocket for when you do want to use them, and they are important.
Yeah, I know I do keep some sticky notes in my car by my dash, just, if I'm at a stoplight and I have too many thoughts in my head, I just need to refocus on my wants, because a lot of times we focus on what we don't want. So I just go there, I read it, and then I will say it over and over just to kind of help put out there what I want to help it come back to me a little faster.
Yeah, that's perfect, because a lot of times, because I memorize things really fast in the workshops, I know everybody's names. I instantly memorize the 20 words. People go, "Oh, you're the memory expert." And I keep telling people, no, I'm a learning expert. Right. Memory is just a small piece of it. And a big piece of it is, what do you even care about really remembering? What is important? What's your priority? What's your learning system? And how do you make everything work? If you can't put it all here, you've got to create the maximum learning system that works specifically for you. May not work for your boss, may not work for your teacher, may not work for a parent, but if it works for you, that's the key. And we're often forced into somebody else's way. And if we don't do it in their way, then we're made to think that we're stupid, or we're inadequate, or we're humiliated, or we don't feel good enough, right? Because we're not learning it their way.
Right. And the expectations, it's the expectations that are so great that we not only put on ourselves, but we put on other people, and even, the kids. And it just is, sometimes we need to take a step back and really ask, who's the expectation for? Is it for ourselves, or what's best for them? And I think that we forget that. So if somebody was reading, could you give them a little tip on maybe how to help them remember? Because everyone's going to be remembering a little bit, or need to read to continue to be educated.
Well, I can give you some general things, but I can't tell you one thing specific, because everybody's different.
Absolutely.
So let's say, I'll give you this one. Let's say somebody's a visual learner. Okay. You learn by seeing things. So when they're reading, about every paragraph or so, they should stop and visualize what it is that they just read, like a movie. Or for some people, it's a few sentences. See, it's different for everybody. That's why it's hard to just give you a specific answer. But sometimes it's 2 or 3 sentences. If someone has massive attention issues, then they would need to just read a few sentences, stop, imagine in their brain what it was that they just saw, or relate it to their own lives. That's an emotional component of reading and learning.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a speed reading type of thing that you can do too, depending on if the person has fairly decent comprehension, or if they have a average or higher IQ, they can pick out piece words and use their finger and move themselves across. So there's so many different
There
ways. It's a
is.
great question, but there are so many different ways to maximize somebody's ability to read, to figure out problems. Like, for instance, I did this at one of the companies I was working at. I was teaching them the process of double-digit subtraction. Now, that sounds pretty elementary. Why would you teach that at corporation? It wasn't about the double digit. It was about the process. So there are so many different steps in a math problem that what happens is a student that has a working memory issue or is insecure about math may get 90% of all the steps right.
Mm-hmm.
Randomly, they're getting steps wrong, so they flunk it, when really they're to 90%. Because they're randomly getting different pieces, they're messing up. So what I recommend is, when you're learning something new that has multiple steps, whether it's math or not, you just learn the first step and master it. And do the first step to 10 problems, to 10 experiences, to 10 projects, whatever, and master that first step. Do not go on until you have 100% of that step right. Now you move on to step 2. But what they do is they start the step, oh, you got that pretty good, let's keep going, or they're moving somebody too fast. Well, in this company that I was working with, they have project managers. And one of the top managers of the project managers asked his manager, he said, his project manager, he said, would this be helpful for you if, when you're learning all these new accounts and doing business plans for them, if you only did financials to every account first and stayed in that part of your brain, then you did the marketing, and he's like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Could not have been more perfect timing and everything in that moment.
Right.
And that top VP said that was the key for him in the workshop. And everybody takes out different things, that are applicable to them. But it's more like I'm giving menus and helping people have experiences of doing things they never thought they could, versus just telling them and, putting them up and getting them excited. So.
And I bet he just completely soared and rocked it out after that, because he found his niche and how he learned and to accelerate.
Right.
Wow.
That's the way it works.
Mind blowing. I love this.
I know.
Love it.
It's really exciting. People are doing things they never thought possible in their wildest dreams. Sometimes I can teach in hours what it takes people 6 months to learn in a school system, or even in their corporation, because they're being taught in a specific way. And when it's almost like unlocking this whole magical part of yourself, when you find out all the different components that make up your specific ability to learn.
Right. And I think a little bit of it is just actually believing in yourself. I have this thing where I believe, I receive, and that's those are important words to me, because if I don't believe, why should I receive? Right. And so if you believe that you can learn and you can become educated and you can learn faster, then you're going to receive it, because you're going to want to retain it. You're going to, but with the right tools that you're providing. And I just think it's such a great way to look at learning and take a different approach to it, instead of the negative tone that seems to be out there upon learning.
And the negative tone perpetuates and gets supported not only by the school system, but then when you talk to other parents, as a parent, they're all comparing and talking about their kids getting special help or tutoring, or my kid's getting all A's and your kid's getting they're getting, A's and B's, or they got 1C, and you're starting to think, oh my gosh, my kid's going to fall behind, and are they going to make it? Are they going to get in the right college? And none of that matters.
Right.
It just doesn't matter. I mean, it matters if you want to be a Harvard doctor or if you want to get in one of the top colleges. Absolutely. But if you want to go to college, or if you don't even want to go to college, whatever, you don't have to put that kind of pressure on yourself, because there's a whole myriad of things that get you to where you want to go. There is not just one path that they make you feel is appropriate. And our whole society reinforces that panic in
Right.
families and the students. And the students are so stressed out today because of this testing, and it's
Oh,
crazy.
it's
You know,
intimidating. It's really like intimidating and kind of a turnoff.
yeah,
And
it
then you
really
dread
is.
it, and then it becomes to get stressful, more anxiety is built. And so I think that you're definitely an asset to so many people out there. And gosh, if they could just learn your techniques, learn it as soon as possible, instead of paying for a tutor for a whole year and having that
Right.
stress and that constant internal battle, they could work with you, learn the techniques, and then just, follow your guidelines and your skills and get refreshers. And I just, wow, just think it's great.
It takes a lot of stress off the parents, because
Hmm.
if the parents learn differently than their children, it can be crying matches, it can be
Oh, yeah.
painful, it can be just the worst. Or the parents are sitting there every night with their kids, helping them with homework. Wouldn't it be better if the kids could do it for themselves?
Yes, yes. And I also know that you have a YouTube channel that you've recently created. And I know I have
Yes.
tapped into quite a few of your great educational videos. And I just love your authenticity, the realness that you bring to every video. I have gone back and listened to a couple of them when I needed certain reminders. So I appreciate that. If
Thank
they
you.
wanted to find you on YouTube, what is your channel?
You just have to look up Getting Your Happy On with Kimberly.
Bring Your Happy On with
No,
Kimberly. Oh,
Getting
Getting Your Happy
Getting
On.
Your Happy On with Kimberly. I've got
Wonderful.
70 videos now since January, so I'm quite the talker.
You're cranking it out. I love it. Yeah, but that's just more information for people out there. And I think that that's, what we need at any given time. And if you're in the car and you need to listen to something to get yourself kind of in the right mindset and thought process, definitely go to your channel, I would say. Now,
Thank
for
you.
those of you who are just listening to this on audio, could you tell us how they could get a hold of you if they wanted to start using your expertise?
They could either come to empowermind.com, my website. They could go to Kimberly at empowermind.com, my email address, or 248-752-0602.
Wonderful. I just like to have that option available because, even watching, they could just easily jot it down as well. So,
Mhm.
but gosh, you have provided us with so many good ideas, tips, hopefully given people a different way of thinking and not being so afraid of learning and actually turning it to the opposite and wanting to invite learning and taking the challenge on. Is there any lasting things that you want to leave with us?
I just want everybody to know that they are really amazing in their own way. Even if
Mhm,
it hasn't been reinforced by school or
mhm.
corporate, you may have a gift, even a gift of listening, or a gift of humor and lightening up a room. You may have the gift of steadiness and peace, especially during the time we're experiencing, to bring calmness. What a gift that is.
It is.
There's so many things that people don't necessarily acknowledge, because they're not bringing in specific money for that, purpose, but our purpose is much bigger than that.
Right.
It can be uplifting or helping people in ways that we really have never even given ourselves credit for.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate again your time, your expertise, getting me excited to want to work with you, and definitely have you work with my children more. So thank you very much, Kimberly. And you can't lead a positive life with a negative mind. Until then, don't coast or neutral. Positive shift ahead. I'm Stacey Renee.